In this episode, I'd like to talk about R. Ashwin. I think he's not got the due that he deserves. He's been a fantastic servant for Indian cricket, over 500 test wickets and 6 centuries to go with it. He's been a real asset for the game, for the test format, and I would put him in the same league as a Virat Kohli as far as test cricket is concerned. I mean, we in India kind of admire batters, but really we also need to start looking at our bowlers too. And R. Ashwin is a true legend. With passage of time, we'll also talk about Bumrah, but I think today let's talk about R. Ashwin. In terms of the memories that I have, that I fondly recall, where Ashwin played a big part, was the Indian win, the Border Gavaskar Trophy win in Australia the last time around. If you recall, we were 1-0 down after Adelaide, and we all remember Ajinkya Rahane's magnificent 100. But then we also must acknowledge Ashwin's contribution, where he picked up 5 wickets in the match, 3 in the first innings and 2 in the second, or vice versa. I think he got Smith out, and Smith was the form batter in that series, much the same way that Travis Head is in the current edition. So I think he had a huge part to play in that series leveling win. And then also in the next game in Sydney, he contributed with the bat by hanging in there, taking blows. I think he had an injury, if my memory serves me right, but he still hung in there and ensured that we fought and we ended up with a draw. And of course, we know what happened in the final test at the Gabba, where Rishabh Pant took us to an epic win. But yeah, I think we must acknowledge the contribution of R. Ashwin in that series. I think he's not been given his due when it comes to especially overseas performances. People say that, he's been a bowler who has just performed at home, and that too because of the pitches being doctored. And I think if I look at the numbers, it's true that his performance overseas, especially in Sena countries, as we like to call it, South Africa, England, New Zealand, and Australia, his average is around 39. But then we must also remember that he hasn't really featured in most of these series as the number one spinner. Sadly, it's just, I think a frame of reference, we've always compared his kind of bowling with Jadeja's, and that's where the problem lies. Jadeja being the more accomplished batter, he would always slot in ahead, and I think rightly so. But I think Jadeja and Ashwin, the two, I think there was a place to have both of them, and not a question of either or, because they're both different bowlers, and even the stats show that. I think Jadeja has a good record overseas in Australia and South Africa, whereas Ashwin has a really good record in England and New Zealand. And of course, with Jadeja, the threat is different. Jadeja is always at the stumps and trying to get the LBWs and bowls most of the time, whereas with R. Ashwin, there is an element of flight and guile, and he gets a slip, a silly point because he's taller and he gets more bounce. So that's where I think the two are different, and perhaps we've kind of not really utilized the skill of R. Ashwin in our overseas tests. And the reason why we've always been inclined to pack our batting with more batters. So Jadeja, instead of playing as a batting all-rounder, he was being played as a bowling all-rounder, in quotes, because we were not sure about a batting. So we would effectively play 7 batters and then just 4 bowlers. So I think that's where I think Ashwin kind of missed out. And I think it's worth getting into why um, this confidence in our batting has not been there for the last 6 or 8 years. If you go back to when Rahul Dravid was the coach, or even when Ravi Shastri was the coach, I think we've kind of seen a pattern wherein our batters have really not, but when I say batters, our top 6 hasn't really contributed the way they should have. And one, I think, important thing to call out here has been the pitches at home, which were spinning from the first session, and they were like really abrasive surfaces. And these are not the traditional Indian pitches that we've seen over the years. These have been doctored to spin from day one. And spin, the problem with spin is fine, but this is like inconsistent. Some balls spin, there would be a puff of dust, and some balls would not spin. So that's what makes it very challenging for batters. And I think what happened was that Indian batters from 2018 or 19, when this strategy was adopted, we kind of stopped making runs at home. And while we won series because of the likes of Ashwin, Jadeja and Akshar Patel doing really well, we saw that our batters were low on confidence, and when they toured abroad in challenging conditions, some of them got runs, but from a grand scheme of things, our batting was really short of runs, and therefore we always wanted to play the extra batter and not really go for 5 bowlers. So that's been the problem, really. So yeah, it's really unfortunate that Ashwin didn't get a chance to prove his. I think he's also been very unlucky. So if we just go back to the second test in Adelaide, he would have got Travis Head out had Mohammad Siraj judged that catch of Travis Head. People will just say, "Oh, Ashwin kind of didn't make an impact." Even in the first innings, when the pitch was still relatively fresh, he got the ball to spin. He got the edge from Travis Head, but he was, he was let down by the fielding there. And even I remember watching his bowling to Mitchell Marsh. He got the ball to spin and cause a lot of confusion. I think Mitchell Marsh played and missed quite a bit before eventually getting out to him. I think a similar kind of thing I remember against South Africa in 2022. If you remember that DRS controversy wherein Kohli was talking on the stump mic, guess who was the bowler? It was R. Ashwin. He had caught, I think it was Dean Elgar. The ball hit the batter in front, and he was adjudged out by one of the finest umpires. I think it was Erasmus. I'm not sure. Yeah, Marai Erasmus, I think it was. Anyway, but then the DRS deemed it to be going just over. So I think Ashwin has had his real, moments, but for some reason he has not been able to get the wickets. And why I say moments, if he was given a longer rope, I think we would have these things over when there's a bigger sample size. These things kind of even out. So you might get unlucky sometimes, but then it kind of balances out, and I think we would have seen more from Ashwin. In fact, if I look at his stats, the best year that he had as an overseas bowler was in 2018, where he picked up 24 wickets. And that's where I think he bowled in about 7 matches, close to 7 matches, 13 innings. In all the other years, especially in the last 3 years, he's hardly bowled maybe, in 2 test matches or the odd game here and there. And that's not, I think, a fair reflection of the bowling of our Ashwin overseas. I think we needed to give him to, more opportunity to really assess his career overseas. So I think it's really sad, but I think that doesn't take away the fact that he's been a great. It was on his performances, strong performances, that we've managed to win the record number of series that we did. Of course, Ashwin and Jadeja, but Ashwin being the lead spinner, he has been just a rock star, and we must acknowledge his contribution and thank him for his commitment and for bringing so much to the game. The one last thing that I want to talk about was he always evolved as a bowler. So right from let's forget the variations, but even in tests, which are more for T20, but even for the test format, he would be thinking of new ways to get the batter out. I think it was fascinating watching him bowl. Even one of the draws that we had in Ahmedabad in 2022, I think it was at early 23, where the pitch was really flat. Nobody could get any wickets. I think it was an absolute road, but it was our Ashwin who still managed to get the ball to spin and cause confusion in the batters. It was just unlucky that um, he didn't get the wickets perhaps as much as he would have liked, but I think he got wickets, but he didn't get those. Unfortunately, I think as a team we couldn't really get Australia all out, and yeah. So the long story short is, I think he's been fantastic, fantastic bowler to watch, and really just sad to see him go when he's had, I think, more to offer. I think he would have been fantastic in the upcoming England series, but it is what it is. Hope to see him or to hear his thoughts in the coming days. I think he'll be part of the media team, and hope to see him there. Thank you.